stay the whole weekend.
Yeah, it's actually just getting crowded now.
Right, event with Billy Bonds doing some classes on butchering and composting, and there was a class on learning how to knit and crochet. There was a class on Bitcoin, and there's 2 or 3 more days yet of the conference or whatever. What do they call it? Weekend. More classes. I think they're doing 2 a day.
Joel Salatin's going to be here tonight, I think.
Yeah, Joel Salatin is giving a talk, and it was a good event. Like PJ and I made the drive. Yes, and Bear Independent,
our very own,
gave a talk yesterday at 3:00 on truth and trust and
vetting and forming groups and kind of the whole gamut.
Yeah, he spoke for about an hour on that, gave out a lot of good information. And so we are just driving back, but I wanted to come online to do the live because there are a lot of people who are a little bit timid about going to an event like this. And it was interesting. Yeah, I think. Yeah. I think Bear touched on it in his talk.
All right, lady, calm down. I'm going to turn around.
He kind of asked, what? Here you go. He kind of asked how many people in the audience were introverts. And it was, at least half. At least half of the people in the audience were introverts.
Probably more. Some of them didn't raise their hand because they were too introverted.
Right. They didn't even want to raise their hands. It took them a little while. Hello, Victory Garden and Landkeeper Journey. Yeah. You're not sure who you're going to meet. You're not sure if it's going to be awkward, if you're going to be comfortable or not. But the man who put on this event, who's the head of the Midwest Preparedness Project, Patrick Barnes, is a squared away guy. And his group is kind of a preparedness mag. They also are people of faith. And this is not their first rodeo. I think he said this is the 10th time they've put on a weekend like this. So they're experienced. They were very organized. All their
they
people,
really were.
Yeah, all their people had radios. They had vests. They were prepared. They had flyers to hand out to people. They had advice. Where's the restroom? Where can I get some water?
They were really well staffed. They had like roaming security and a couple checkpoints getting in and parking attendants. I mean, it was really good. And it cost how much to come?
Free for nothing. That was the best thing about this event, was the price. Free for nothing is a pretty daggone good price for the kind of information you're going to be getting from people who are giving the classes at an event like this. Joel Salatin spoke in front of Congress. He asked a big, hey, if you want me to show up, he could ask for a big fee. The event was free for people attending. Hey, Melanie. Melanie from Virginia is here again. Yay! And there's Sawson and Colleen Rodemer. So the staff people were awesome. Patrick himself was an awesome individual. Very squared away, very knowledgeable about his whole event, who was going to be there, about preparedness things in general. He had an excellent testimony. Events like this, and Bear said it in his talk, are not mainly about the classes you're taking and what you're learning there.
Amen.
It's mainly about the people you are meeting there. And that's something that PJ has always said too. Like, you're there to make connections with like-minded individuals. Well, with that in mind, when we came up yesterday, we were both really tired. Can you turn her down or no? I guess you can't really. We were both really tired. Like, we had it wasn't a stressful trip for us, but you have to think about trips. And as PJ will let you guys know, I always end up forgetting something kind of crucial.
Oh, I don't want people to know stuff like that.
Okay, well,
You're the perfect wife. I never say anything bad about you.
okay, I'm the perfect wife, except I didn't have a charge cord for my phone. Um, anyway, so I was not really like energetic when we first showed up, even though we had been drinking caffeine to
We've been
help
drinking
us.
heavily.
Yeah, drinking all kinds of caffeinated drinks to kind of be awake. And so I wasn't immediately like, let me go talk to everybody. And of course, my husband's really good about talking to people, and he's more recognizable. He's got a much bigger audience. So sometimes he gets approached and he doesn't even have to attempt. He can already get into conversation if he wants to. And so it took me a while to warm up. And just because we were there and Bear was there and his posse, people approach them on the spiritual level. They want to know more about our faith walk. They want to know more about, how they can get started and interested of them and everything. And so that happened, and I had an instant connection with Patrick because Patrick is half Filipino, and he was very, as soon as I asked him about that, he instantly was sharing information, which was awesome, and found out we had a lot of little connections, that his grandparents and I had been in Manila at the same time under the Marcos regime, and, shared little stories about that, and that his family's faith walk had started in Catholicism, just like mine, but it ended up in Torah, just like mine. And so we sat down and had a good little conversation for about half an hour. Oh yeah, in the middle of the day, that's not great. You want to be careful if you see deer crossing road in the middle of the day. Yeah, one, they could be part of a herd, but two, deer don't normally go anywhere during the day, and they could be a little loopy. There is Casey. Hello, introverted, digging in the garden while listening. And there's Rocklick Ranch. Shalom. Right? Introverted people come to these events to learn things and see people, but they don't want to talk to anybody, and it's very scary. Hey, sister, said Patty Sanchez. Shalom. Shalom.
I had a great talk with that lady about knee replacements.
Yeah, pastor ended up meeting a woman who's a hiker, and she had knee replacement surgery, so they could touch antennas and exchange information. There's Aid. I was thinking about you at this preparedness event too, because there was a British woman there in the audience, and we heard her just as we were leaving, because I wanted to stop and talk to her about what brought her here from Britain, how did she get into preparedness, and I didn't get a chance, but I immediately thought of you. So that was pretty cool. So what ended up happening on day one, we sat around, I had a few conversations, and then we listened to Bear speak. And right after that, of course, people approached him to talk about faith and so on. And a lady approached me. Her name is Tammy. And she reminded me very, very much of Silvermane Biz, the lady who sometimes is on the live streams. If I knew about it, I could have made arrangements, said Aid. We only knew about it like 2 weeks ago. So, and it's not where we are. We're somewhere else in the country.
Well, you can say where we are.
We're near Lawrence, Kansas. That's where
Let's say where we slept last night.
The Midwest Preparedness operates in this area. They do these events not always at the same location. Like the location they're using this year, they won't use next year. But that's the organization, and they do have a YouTube channel.
They do?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do. Midwest Preparedness Project.
Oh, I'm gonna sign up for that.
Yeah, and so if you want to look them up, you absolutely can, and they should be having this event next year. So anyway, talking to Tammy, she was at the event. She wanted to see Bear speak. She wanted to see Billy Bond speak. He's
the permaculture consultant. That's his channel.
Yeah, he's a permaculture guy and a friendly person, puts on a nice talk, like comes prepared. He's doing a composting talk even as we speak. And Joel Salatin. I mean, what was I talking about? Oh, Tammy, the reason she came. So she does watch bear and she does watch homesteading videos and permaculture videos and things and wants to get started in all that. And she had also heard about me from the Luke Abafi interview. And she watches Luke and Katie's podcasts, which are very informational, really good testimonies on there. Just, it's a positive experience to go to Luke's
35.
website or his podcast or his YouTube, whichever it is, and watch his interviews because he's a great interviewer and there's some fascinating information out there. Found them on YouTube. Thank you, said Aid. So she had seen me on there and she had liked the interview, which, made me feel better. But she's interested in the faith and she's very new into it. And so she was actually looking for people, tour observing people at the preparedness thing, which if bear's there, it's more likely, right? We were not guest speakers. We just decided to come up because it's the kind of thing that PJ is very interested in and we can do these trips together. And so I try to find preparedness things too that I can learn something about. But since we live the way we do, there, a lot of stuff we already have done. Anyway, I ended up talking to her probably a good half an hour. She was interested in congregational connection in her area, Missouri. And I said, well, I don't know of anybody up there, but you can check the 119 the Fellowship Finder map. And there is one or two congregations in the area, and I told her about them. But I told her I don't, I've never contacted them before, so you're going to have to do a little searching on your own. And that was kind of it. Like, we were tired by the time I talked to her, and we needed to get to where we were going. We still were, a ways away from where we were staying. And last night, after recounting all this stuff in my head, I thought, man, I didn't do her justice. I didn't even ask her name during that whole conversation. Now, was it a friendly conversation? Yes. Did we, share things? Yes, we did. But I thought, wow, if she's there again today, I'm going to go ask her her name and, try to be friendlier and more open, like I want to be, because I'll get good rest and I'll feel better and so on. So we get up this morning and we head out and we drive and we come there and sure as shooting she's there. I did end up talking to some other people beforehand, but I sought her out. And I sat down and I said, I am so sorry. I didn't even ask your name. And then we had more conversation, which was really cool. Like, as a human, she's a nice person. She's a really nice person. And she seems to have gotten herself together, And it's really good to see in individuals our age. If you were some sort of wild person in your youth that you have decided, okay, that was me then, but now as a mature adult, I have a whole nother goal in mind for myself. So she wants to start to get into homesteading. And I said, well, shoot, I've written a book on that. It's called Homestead Hints. And she goes, well, do you have it with you? And I said, absolutely, I did. And so I ended up selling her a copy of the book and signing for her. But her first thing she was talking to me about was chickens, how to keep chickens. And I said, well, do you know anything about it at all? And she said, no, she grew up as a suburban kid, didn't end up gardening or doing any of those things. And so I got to share with her all my experience of chicken raising. And I felt like valuable because I had the knowledge and she really appreciated it. She's like, oh, and I got to let her know, there's information in the book too about all that. So that was really good. Like, that made the experience better for me to have that connection with her. And there were people of all different ages and sizes there.
Absolutely.
There were
And belief systems and probably political connections.
right.
Yeah, it's all different.
There were little children. There were nursing babies. There were older children, and the group itself did a great activity for them. They had a treasure hunt.
Yeah, they had a lot of. I think every day has children's activities, which is pretty cool.
Yep, the knitting and crocheting class was for kids. I think they do have an activity of some kind for the kids every day. And today, the treasure hunt, several teenagers were running around making connections, asking questions. Do you know where this is? Do you know where that is? And they had to get signatures on the paper too. So it wasn't just like they could fake it. And they all seemed very interested in doing it, which I thought was really cool. There's Red Prepper. Shalom. The conversation that PJ had with the hiking lady was really interesting too, because she was tiny. We can agree on that.
She was tiny, but she was really fit. And
Yes.
she was what? She said late 70s.
I believe that. She
That's
looked
what she
like
said.
70s.
I thought she looked great.
Right. She was very, very fit. She was healthy looking, but
Yeah, she was also healthy looking. You're right.
but it wasn't just like a, oh yeah, I've been a marathoner my whole life kind of conversation. I asked her, I said, do you do these hikes by yourself? Because she talked about her hike stuff
She did
is
the John
usually,
Muir Trail. And,
well, and she said, maybe 4 or 5 nights sleeping out and then, yeah. So it wasn't that kind of crazy, yeah, I'm doing the Appalachian Trail and blah, 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 all by myself. Me, my little 90-pound self, gonna go walk the Appalachian Trail. She was tiny. She said, no, of course I don't do this by myself. I have a whole group. And that's when I was like, she's smart. That's the way to do it. You have support, you have protection, you have security in a group. You will not just be, snatched off the trail, little 90-pound lady, when there's a whole group of you. And then her philosophy, because Pastor was talking about a trail. Oh. I don't know what time it is, but there's probably food up there. Anyway,
you tell me when you want to stop. It's 1:30.
oh yeah, we can stop.
You can stop the live stream and start it again.
Yeah, I can do that. Okay, so I'm gonna stop the live stream and we're gonna eat, and then we'll get back on the road and I'll start it again. And I will pick up to where I left off, talking about this lady, this 70-year-old hiking woman. All right, so we'll be back later. Turn that on. Okay.
I guess I